So we're going to take a look at the Freeman design model here with another idea for the kitchen ceiling. What we're looking at before was these box beams across the kitchen ceiling to kind of give a different feel for the kitchen area versus the dining room. So we modified the cabinets so those box beams could die into it, and we've now in this layout too coordinated the box beam layout with that kitchen hood, the kitchen range hood that's going to be in the ceiling up there. So that's in between these. So just look quick at this version. So this would be, let's call this just the box beam option. And we're going to look at the raised tray ceiling option here. So let's look at this option, which I think is great. So this gives us some extra ceiling height, first of all. So in here we would basically at some point we have an existing beam coming across the ceiling right here. So we'd be able to start this tray right after that beam in the kitchen area. What that starts to do is give us kind of this little faux soffit that wraps around the whole kitchen and starts to define that space. So what I've done here is just given just a little extra thickness, so it starts to look like that soffit turns and comes across and wraps around this whole way, even though I think all we'd need is like a 1/2 inch here of just change a little fry reglet or something there to make that drywall, do a little change there. We could even do a slight color change too between the kitchen ceiling and the dining room ceiling, just to give a little bit more of a feel of those spaces being different. So we could look at that, but otherwise, yeah. So I have this raised about 6 inches, and we can kind of see how high we could get it with where that roof framing comes in. But I think this gives a nice, layout for that ceiling where it is higher and gives us opportunity to do things like even a little light shelf around the outside, so we can make this glow up here with LED light, with a kind of an LED soft light throwing light out onto it. Yeah, there could be some different molding options around the outside here, or we could just kind of keep it clean and crisp and modern. A little bit more modern looking would be fine too. So we could gain a little bit extra cabinet space also with this. We'd shorten the cabinets 3.5 inches before for those ceiling beams. So I think this would be pretty cool to do. And it would just be adjusting that existing ceiling framing. I think this is a lot cleaner than those ceiling beams. So yeah, I think that ends up being possible just because where that existing beam comes off just set us up for this kind of little soffit look that runs around the outside, even though we're actually raising that ceiling and not dropping a soffit. So you're going to get a higher ceiling with that raised ceiling in the middle. Oh, just one thing to mention, it does push the ceiling higher right above the stove. So I think that's going to make that ceiling vent slightly less effective. So I think we have an option here. We could keep that ceiling vent up here. It's going to be up in this portion. I think there's room for it still, or we could do the little pop-up vent, which is I'm not sure is going to be quite as effective as that powerful ceiling vent, which is just going to suck air out of the entire room as our method for venting the stove. Whereas the guy above the stove is not going to have quite as much air exchange, air movement, but will grab some of the steam and smell and smoke that comes off the stove, particularly at that back edge into that little vent that raises up there. So we need to make a decision on that if we go with this option. So anyway, I like this. I think it looks nice, and I think we just need a little more information as far as cost on this option, and then we can adjust our lighting layout and everything for this. All right, hope that helps. Thanks.